There's a kind of trust that comes from building something with your hands. Maybe that's why I never question them, her, or him. I'm a contractor. Framing, siding, demo, the whole package. Grew up in a small coastal town where we call it work, even when we're crawling under a porch in the rain. The kind of town where people wave even if they don't like you. Where cheating usually happens with the lights off and the blinds shut. Quiet. Shameful. Like it's supposed to be. My name's Cole. I'm 34. She was Maddie. We met at the Marina bar during trivia night. I bought her a whiskey sour. She asked if I could build a deck. I said yes. 6 months later, she moved in. 2 years later, I proposed on the jetty. Her ring sat inside a fishing tackle box. You know, romantic, but blue collar. And guess who helped me pull that off? Jake. My best friend since 6th grade. The guy who taught me how to throw a punch and tie a tie. I used to joke he was the twin my mom forgot to deliver. He distracted her at the restaurant while I set up the proposal spot. Took pictures. Bought champagne. Hugged me after and said, "You got yourself a good one, man." That was 2 years ago. Fast forward to now. I'm standing in her car, driver door open, staring at the seat. I borrowed it for a job an hour inland. My truck was at the shop, nothing major, just brakes, and she offered hers. Nissan Rogue, barely 5 feet of legroom. Normally. But that day, when I got in, seat was pushed all the way back. Like, full leg extended, NBA point guard territory. Now Maddie's 5'2" in boots. And I've driven her car before. She keeps the seat so far forward I practically eat the steering wheel when I get in. So I adjusted it, drove to the job, and tried not to think about it. But the thought stuck. Wriggled into my head like a splinter I couldn't pull. That night, I got home, parked, and sat in the car for a minute. Then I remembered something. The dash cam. I installed it a year back after a hit-and-run totaled my cousin's sedan. Told Maddie it was just for insurance. Which was true. I wasn't paranoid. Wasn't spying. But now? Now I was curious. I pulled the micro SD card and loaded it onto my laptop. It was late. Quiet. House smelled like old takeout. She was upstairs reading. I clicked through the last few files. Most were boring. Traffic. Ocean. Birds. Then I hit a clip labeled with the date from 3 days ago. I clicked. The timestamp showed 9:27 p.m. Maddie was in the driver's seat. Passenger door opened. A man slid in. I couldn't see his face, camera pointed forward, but I knew the voice. Knew it like I knew my own. Jake. He's not home, he said. Nope. Conference thing in Portland. You sure we've got time? She laughed. He doesn't check this car for anything but gas receipts. My stomach dropped. He laughed. Then, silence for a beat. Then the sound of kissing. Sloppy, hungry, too loud kissing. Her giggle. Then her voice, close, cocky. You still remember the night he proposed? You were texting me under the table. Jake, you were the one who said the ring was too small. Her, because it was. They both laughed. Then more kissing. I hit pause. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just sat there. Mouth dry. Laptop glowing like a flashlight in a cave. Everything about it was ugly. Desperate. Teenage. They sounded like people who'd never worked a day in their lives. People who thought sneaking around was so hot. People who confused betrayal with attention. I sat there for maybe an hour. Didn't go upstairs. Didn't say a word. Just planned. Because if she wanted drama, if they wanted to lie, cheat, and laugh about it, then I'd give them a stage. And an audience. There's a weird calm that settles over you once you've seen the worst thing you could ever imagine. Not panic. Not rage. Just clarity. The night I heard them, Maddie and Jake, on that dash cam clip, everything else went quiet. Like a bad radio station finally losing signal. I sat there at my kitchen table, staring at the paused video like it was an old injury I couldn't feel anymore. Just scar tissue now. I didn't storm upstairs. Didn't throw the laptop. Didn't wake her up to demand some shaking, stuttering apology. No. I just opened a new browser tab and Googled, custom invitation printing near me. If I was going to end this, I was going to end it with ceremony. See, Maddie and I had an anniversary coming up, 5 years together, 2 married. Every year we went to the same spot, Captain Greeley's, a beat-up little seafood place on the edge of town that somehow always smelled like clam chowder and engine grease. Our first date had been there. Our second kiss. My proposal, the one Jake helped me plan. It had history. It also had a PA system. That detail was important. I called the owner, Charlie, the next morning. Now Charlie's an old-timer Vietnam vet, runs the restaurant with his 2 sons and an iron fist. He's the kind of guy who still calls everyone kid and thinks Bluetooth is a kind of fish. But he liked me. I'd done drywall repair for him last winter when a pipe burst over the bar. Charlie, I said, thinking of doing something special for Maddie this year. Surprise anniversary thing. Friends and family, maybe 20 to 30 folks. You think you could help me out? Hell yeah, kid, he said. We'll clear out the back room. Get the crab pots rolling. And that PA system still work? Sure does, he said. Why? Oh, just thinking of making a toast. Don't want to shout over the clams. He laughed. Romantic. I like it. We picked a Saturday. Gave me 2 weeks to prep. Plenty of time. First, I made a guest list. Her family. My family. Our mutuals. Our neighbors. Her co-workers from the clinic. His wife. His kids. Yes, his wife. Katie. We'd never been tight, but she was always kind. The type who brings cookies to cookouts and thanks you too many times for things like fixing a loose mailbox or unclogging the yard drain. I called her midweek. Hey, Katie. This is gonna sound weird, I said, but I'd love for you and the kids to come to something. Just you 3. She paused. That's unusual, she said. Jake too. I said, calm as ever, not this time. There was a beat of silence. Then she said, okay. Next, the invitations. I designed them myself. Paid extra to get them glossy. Front, a photo from our wedding. Us on the pier. Jake standing 2 feet behind me, holding the ring box with this big dumb grin like he was the proud best man at a funeral. Inside. You were cordially invited to a surprise anniversary celebration. For Cole and Maddie, 5 years strong. Saturday, 6 p.m. Captain Greeley's Seafood Grill. Food. Drinks. A few words from the heart. Come celebrate love. I dropped them off by hand. Smiled the whole time. Maddie, meanwhile, was glowing. Wait, she said one night, curling up next to me on the couch, you're planning something? I am, I said. You never plan stuff, she teased. Well, I said, figured you deserve it. She leaned in, kissed my cheek. You're too good to me. I almost choked. Too good to her. I replayed that dash cam audio in my head every time she kissed me that week. You still remember the night he proposed? You were texting me under the table. Too good to her. Then came Friday, the day before the dinner. I called Charlie. Still good for tomorrow? All set, he said. Got the PA tuned and the mic charged. You bringing a playlist? Just a recording, I said. Romantic stuff? Yeah, I said. Real intimate. Next, I drove to the print shop. Picked up a stack of little 5x7s I'd made. Same wedding photo, but with a new caption added across the bottom. Every love story has a twist. Underneath, the dashcam transcript. Just the part where she laughs and says, you were texting me under the table. And Jake says, you said the ring was too small. I didn't bold it. Didn't add color. Just black and white. Clinical. Like evidence in court. Saturday came. Weather was perfect. Crisp. Clear. Sunset like a watercolor. Maddie wore a navy dress with sleeves that made her look like someone's Sunday school teacher. I told her she looked beautiful. She kissed me twice in the parking lot. You're being weird, she said. Like, good weird. But weird. Just wait, I told her. When we walked into Greeley's, the room exploded in clapping. Her mom, teary-eyed. Her sister, tipsy already. Aunts, cousins, friends from work, all smiling, all shouting, surprise. She looked at me with her mouth open. You did this? She whispered. I nodded. You have no idea, I said. We sat. Toasts happened. Drinks flowed. Someone passed a crab leg and knocked over a candle. Normal chaos. Then I stood. Tapped the mic. Hey everyone, I said. Can I say a few words? Applause. I took a breath. This year's been big for us, I said. 5 years married. 9 years together. And I thought it was time to celebrate it right. Maddie was beaming. Jake wasn't there yet. I continued. But instead of doing a long toast, I said, I figured I'd let Maddie say a few words. So I brought her voice along. And with that, I pulled out the USB, plugged it into the PA system, and hit play. The room went still. Static. Then, he's not home? Conference thing in Portland? He doesn't check this car for anything but gas receipts. Laughter. You still remember the night he proposed? You were texting me under the table. You said the ring was too small. Laughter. Then kissing. By the 20-second mark, Maddie's smile had dropped off her face like a cheap mask in a rainstorm. At 30 seconds, her mom gasped. At 45, someone dropped a fork. I hit pause. Looked around the room. Every single person was frozen. I wanted everyone to hear it, I said. So when I say this next part, no one thinks I'm exaggerating. I turned to Maddie, pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket. This, I said, handing it to her, is an annulment agreement. Pre-signed. You can go ahead and add your name when you get a chance. She didn't speak, didn't blink, just stared like a deer trying to figure out if the headlights meant death or a second chance. Then, the doors opened, and in walked Jake, with Katie, and his 2 kids. Perfect timing. I raised the mic one last time. Welcome, Jake, I said. You're just in time for dessert. There's something electric about silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that fills a room after a bomb goes off, when no one's sure if they should clap, run, or call someone. That was Captain Greeley's. The dash cam recording had ended. Maddie still hadn't moved. Jake stood in the entrance, 1 foot inside the room, 1 still in the hallway like his body knew something his brain hadn't caught up to yet. Katie stood beside him, their 2 kids behind her, confused, maybe. Not old enough to get it, but old enough to feel the temperature drop. Charlie, bless his crusty soul, was behind the bar with a towel over one shoulder, frozen mid-pour like he was watching a bar fight that hadn't started yet but might. I stepped back from the mic. Just a few steps. Not dramatic. Maddie looked at me like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. And maybe she didn't. Because this wasn't the guy who built her a deck and fixed her windshield and left notes in her lunch bag. This wasn't the guy who used to text Jake, "Appreciate you, brother," every time he helped with a move or picked up beer after work. This was someone new. Someone finished. "Cole," Maddie finally said, voice barely above a whisper. "Can we talk?" "Sure," I said, nodding to the mic. "We're all here." "No, I mean privately." I didn't move. "I think we're past that." She started to cry. Quick. Like she hit a switch. Tears without warning. The "please don't hate me" model she probably used once on her dad after wrecking a car. "I can explain," she said. I held up one hand. "That's what the audio's for." Then I turned. To the guests. "I want to apologize," I said, scanning the room. "To all of you. For dragging you into this. For putting this out there in a way that's public. Loud. But I figure since it happened in whispers, in my car, in someone else's group chat, this is as fair as it gets." Someone, her cousin, I think, cleared their throat and stood. Walked out. A couple more followed. Quiet. Eyes on the floor. I didn't care. I wasn't doing this for anyone else's comfort. I was doing this to draw a line. To say, "I saw what you did." I'm not pretending. I'm not forgiving. I'm not folding into myself just to keep the peace. Jake finally spoke. "Cole. Man, look." I cut him off with a raised finger. He stopped. I looked at Katie. "Did you know?" I asked her, gently. "No venom." She shook her head. "Just once." Jaw locked. I turned back to Jake. "Then talk to her," I said. "Not me." His eyes darted around. Like he was looking for a window that wasn't there. Maddie stood, finally. Her dress wrinkled at the hip. Eyes puffy. Still holding the annulment envelope in her hand like it might catch fire. "You're ending this?" "Just like that?" she asked. I didn't blink. "You ended it," I said. "I'm just putting a frame around the wreckage." She took a step closer. "You're not even going to try to work through it?" That's when I finally snapped. "Just a little." "You laughed, Maddie," I said. Voice still calm, but harder now. "You laughed about the proposal. About the ring. About me. With the guy who stood next to me while I asked you to spend your life with me." She looked down. "I didn't let her. You flirted in my car. Slept with him in my house. And you laughed." Someone behind her gasped. Maybe her sister. Katie stepped forward. "Let's go," she told Jake. He didn't move. "Jake," she said again, voice sharper. "Let's go. Now." He finally walked. Not to her. Just toward the door. Everyone watched. Nobody said a word. Maddie stood in place. Alone. I stepped toward the mic one last time. "Thank you all for coming," I said. "There's dessert if you're still hungry. I won't blame you if you're not." Then I walked out. Past Maddie. Past Jake. Out the side door. I didn't look back. I didn't hear footsteps behind me. Just the sea breeze and the faint clink of silverware in a restaurant that would never be the same. I didn't go home that night. I'd already packed a bag. Already had a room booked at a motor lodge on the edge of town. Cheap. Quiet. Enough Wi-Fi to check my email and watch half a hockey game on mute. Maddie texted once. Just one line. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't reply. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Filed the annulment paperwork officially. In our state, if a marriage is under 2 years and one party can prove fraud, the court's usually happy to erase the tape. Clean break. No alimony. No house split. No drawn-out arguments about who gets the dog. We didn't have one. Maddie moved out within a week. Left the house key in an envelope with a note that said, "I'm sorry. I didn't open it." Just dropped it straight in the trash with a dull thud. Jake tried calling once. Blocked. Katie sent me a thank you text. Just 2 words. For everything. A few people in town still look at me sideways. Not because I was wrong, but because I made it public. Because I didn't do what people here are trained to do, swallow it. Smile. Keep the mask on. But you know what? I'd do it again. Because sometimes shame has to be loud. Sometimes consequences need an audience. I still go to Greeley's. Charlie comped my next 3 meals. Said I was a legend. You put on a show, kid, he told me, slapping my back. Better than that karaoke divorce party last spring. I just nodded. Didn't smile. Because I wasn't proud. Just free. And freedom? Tastes a hell of a lot better than betrayal. It's funny what people think you want after a public betrayal. Some offer silence. Others offer advice. The worst ones offer forgiveness. Like the whole thing was a bad meal, and I just need to walk it off with a glass of water and some perspective. I didn't want any of that. I wanted insulation. Not from Maddie. From people's reactions to Maddie. Because in a small town, news doesn't just travel, it hangs in the air like humidity. You can't outrun it. You just wait for it to settle. The week after the anniversary party, I went back to work like nothing happened. Hammer, nails, scaffolding, same rhythm, different soundtrack in my head. Most folks didn't say anything. The ones who did kept it light. Hey man, saw the video? Hell of a thing. Need anything, brother? I got a buddy who does concrete if you want to fill that whole marriage in. Some laughed. Some stared too long. One guy, Randy, a drywall sub I never liked, tried to turn it into a drinking story. Man, if my wife ever pulled that, I'd take a tire iron to the guy. I looked him dead in the eye and said, that's why you don't get invited to things, Randy. He didn't bring it up again. The house was quiet now. Not just empty quiet. No phone calls on speaker in the kitchen while she stirred instant oats with too much cinnamon. No FaceTime with her sister while folding laundry she never actually finished. No trail of half-used mugs by the sink like she was marking territory in her own house. I cleaned it all up. Donated her stuff. Canceled the wine subscription she always forgot to pause. Threw away her bathrobe, the one she never washed, the one I used to bury my face in when we curled up on rainy Sundays watching reruns of Forged in Fire. I kept the couch. Burned the pillows. Then one day, about 2 weeks post-party, I got a message. Facebook Messenger. Of course. Maddie, can we talk? I stared at it for a solid minute. Then I typed back. Me. In writing only. Maddie, okay. I deserve that. There was a long pause. Then came the paragraph. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. I've been talking to someone. A therapist. They're helping me figure out why I did what I did. Why I tried to destroy something good. And I think it's because I didn't know how to accept being loved without performing. You made things easy, and I made them complicated. That's on me. If you never speak to me again, I'll get it. But thank you for everything you gave me. For loving me. Even when I didn't know how to handle it. It was well written. Almost believable. But I didn't trust it. Because people don't change in 2 weeks. They just learn new angles. I didn't reply. And I didn't block her. I just left it there. Like a dead fish someone left on your doorstep as a warning or a gift. Hard to tell which. Jake didn't message. Of course he didn't. But I heard about him. Got a text from Katie. Filed the papers. He's out. Kids are confused, but I'm clear. I sent back 3 words. You did good. She responded with a heart emoji and a photo of her youngest playing with a toy dump truck on the porch, the one I helped build 3 summers back before I realized who I was building it for. That was the last we spoke. She didn't owe me a friendship. I didn't want a shared trauma bond. We just nodded across the wreckage and went back to our corners. Meanwhile, Maddie? She tried to exist online again. Posted a photo on Instagram, her at the beach, wind in her hair, eyes closed. Caption. Not everything broken stays that way. Healing loud. Loving louder. 32 likes. For comments. 2 of them bots. The third was a girl from her nursing school who just wrote, "You're braver than me." Brave. Funny word, that. Brave is walking away from something toxic. Brave is admitting you cheated and keeping your mouth shut while the people you hurt try to remember how to breathe. Brave is not posting vague poems and pretending to grow. But I didn't say anything. Didn't post a counter message. Didn't screenshot and snark. Because if the revenge works, if it really works, you don't have to keep swinging. You just watch them talk to a room that stopped listening. I spent the next few months redoing the house. Not a symbolic, new me thing. Just basic maintenance I've been putting off. New gutters. Better window seals. Tore out the closet we used to share and made it into a workbench nook. Hung my dad's old Navy coat up where her scarves used to be. The dash cam? Still in the drawer. Not because I needed it. Just as a reminder, always record the truth, even when it's ugly. Especially when it's ugly. Then came the weirdest part. An email from the manager of Captain Greeley's. Subject: would you consider renting the space again next year? She wrote, "Charlie's retiring. Said if you ever wanted to do another event, the back room's yours. On the house. We still talk about what you pulled. Honestly, kind of legendary." I smiled. Didn't respond. But I saved the email. Not because I want to repeat it. Just to remember that I could. No? Life's simple. Work. Home. Sleep. Repeat. I'm not dating. Not finding myself. Not joining some support group for men who got blindsided by people they built lives around. I'm just living. Unbothered. Unburdened. Unmarried. And maybe, someday, someone will walk into my life who doesn't smile too hard when their phone lights up. Someone who doesn't laugh behind my back with the guy who held the ring box. But I'm in no rush. Because peace is better than closure. And rebuilding in silence beats loving someone who's auditioning in every room they walk into. There's a certain kind of quiet you earn. Not the peace and love kind. Not yoga quiet. Not woke up next to someone you love quiet. I mean the kind of silence that comes after you torch something down to the studs, and nobody can pretend they didn't see the flames. That's where I live now. 3 months post-annulment, I had everything I wanted. A stripped-back life, a solid crew at the job site, and no one expecting texts just to prove I still cared. I got up, drank black coffee, drove to whatever job needed doing, came home to a place that didn't smell like someone else's perfume, and that was enough. I didn't chase peace. I earned it. But peace is never permanent. Especially when someone you've buried decides they want to claw their way back out. It started with a package. Plain brown box. No return address, no postage. Hand-delivered. Sitting on my front porch like it belonged there. My name on it, in handwriting I hadn't seen since it was scribbled across thank you notes and gift tags. I didn't open it at first. Just sat on the porch, cracked a beer, stared at it like it might start bleeding. Eventually, curiosity won. Inside? A bundle of photos. All printed. All real. No filters, no edits. Us. Years ago. Camping trips. Lake mornings. Christmas lights wrapped around her neck like tinsel. Me holding a sparkler. Her in a hoodie that used to be mine. Underneath the stack, a letter. Typed. Neat. Cole. I know this is a long shot. I know you probably won't even finish this. But I've tried everything else, and I don't know how else to say this. I'm sorry. For all of it. I've been going to therapy. Really. I've been working through what made me sabotage the one thing that felt safe. I hurt you. I disrespected our home. I betrayed the best man I've ever known. I was selfish. Cowardly. And for some reason, you still handled it with more grace than I ever deserved. I think about that night all the time. Not the recording. Not the party. The moment right after. The look in your eyes. You didn't yell. You didn't throw things. You just looked at me like I didn't exist anymore. That's when I knew I'd lost you. I don't expect anything. Not forgiveness. Not a reply. I just wanted you to know I've changed. If you ever want to talk about anything, I'd like that. Maddie. I read it twice. Not because I wanted to. Because I needed to be sure I didn't feel anything. And I didn't. Not anger. Not longing. Just a quiet sense of finality. She wasn't reaching out to heal. She was reaching out because she finally realized she had no audience left. People like Maddie don't apologize for you. They apologize because the silence feels like punishment. They miss the attention, not the connection. Still, something about the letter stuck with me. Not because of the words. Because of the photos. That hoodie in one of them? I thought I lost it. Turns out, she kept it after we split. Another photo? The one from the pier, Our anniversary dinner the year before it all burned. In the background, Jake. He wasn't smiling. He was looking at her. I hadn't noticed that before, and it hit me. She'd been gone long before she left. Some people cheat once. Some people plan it. Maddie planned it. She built a second life in the shadows of mine and acted surprised when I turned on the lights. I put the letter and photos in a drawer. Didn't throw them away. Not because I wanted to keep them. Because every man needs a box of what not to fall for again. The next week, she texted. Of course she did. Maddie, I hope the box didn't upset you. Me, it didn't. Maddie, can we meet? Not to fix things. Just to talk. I didn't reply for 3 days. Then I sent one line. Me, Greeley's. Friday. Noon. 15 minutes. I picked the place because I knew she'd flinch. I wanted her to remember the sound of her own voice on the speaker system, the weight of that room's silence. I didn't want revenge. I wanted a reminder. When I walked in, she was already there. Sitting at a corner booth, nursing a water, hands clasped like she was auditioning for something sacred. She stood when she saw me. Smiled. I didn't smile back. Didn't sit down. 15 minutes, I said. Start talking. She looked startled. Then nodded. I'm not here to ask for anything. Sure you are, I said. You just don't know what. She sighed. I miss you. I stared. She pressed on. I miss what we had. I miss who I was when I was with you. You mean who you pretended to be? That stung. I saw it land. Cole, I was broken. We all are, I said. You just broke me to fix yourself. She shook her head, tears in her eyes. I didn't know how to be loved without testing it. And you failed the test. She looked away. Jake's gone. Katie moved. I don't have anyone left who knew me when I was happy. That's not a me problem. I know, she said. But I thought if I could just talk to you, maybe I could understand who I used to be. I nodded, then said, you were someone I trusted. And now you're not. She bit her lip. I glanced at the clock. 1 minute left, I said. She blinked. That's it. What else is there? She looked down at her water. You know what hurts the most? She asked. Not yet. You didn't fight. I tilted my head. Why would I fight for someone who already left? She didn't answer. I turned to go, then stopped. One last thing, I said. She looked up. Don't try again. I wasn't going to. Yes, I said, you were. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't check if she cried. Didn't wonder how she'd get home. She'd always been good at navigating things that didn't belong to her. And me? I went back to the job site, tightened a railing, ate a sandwich in silence, and smiled for the first time in days. Because when the door stays closed, the wrong people can't knock again. There's a myth about endings. People think they happen with a bang, doors slamming, voices raised, plates shattered across kitchens you'll never eat in again. But most endings? They're quiet. Just a pause that turns permanent. That's how mine came. Not with Maddie crying in the corner booth of Captain Greeley's. Not with another apology letter. Not even with the annulment being finalized and rubber-stamped by a bored court clerk who probably sees a dozen like it every week. It came 3 weeks after that last conversation, when I realized I hadn't thought about her in days. Not in a rage dream kind of way. Not as a ghost floating in my passenger seat. Not even when I passed a car that looked like hers. She was gone. Like fog burning off the ocean at sunrise, slow, inevitable, and irreversible. The house was mine again. Not just legally, but spiritually. I replaced the couch cushions, tore out the leftover memories, cleaned the last drawer with her handwriting on sticky notes, recipes, lists, a quote from some movie she liked about staying open to love. I didn't donate those. I burned them. Just a small, smokeless fire in a metal drum out back. Folded each note like a prayer I didn't believe in. Watched them curl into ash like they'd been waiting for it. Some people call that dramatic. I call it finishing the job. And life? It got better. Not in a storybook way. I didn't meet someone new. I didn't win the lottery or get scouted for a home improvement TV show. I just got back to basics. Work. Coffee. Late-night drives down back roads with no destination. The guys on the crew stopped asking about it. The town found new gossip. Jake moved away, apparently got a job 2 counties over. Katie stayed local, bought a little fixer-upper on the east side. I helped her install a mailbox. We didn't talk about the past. She paid me in banana bread in silence. Fair trade. Maddie? She vanished. Not in the literal sense. I'm sure she's still floating somewhere, rebranding. But online? Gone. She nuked her socials. Scrubbed her name off every shared album. Mutuals told me she changed her number, started working admin at some therapy practice out in Portland. Fitting. Helping other people heal from wounds she left in others. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so predictable. Then, one Tuesday morning, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name. Again. Different handwriting this time. Smoother. More practiced. Like she'd taken a calligraphy class between betrayals. Inside? One photo. Me and her. From that first trip to the coast. We were sitting on a log, faces sunburnt, holding styrofoam cups of clam chowder. I was mid-laugh. She was leaning into me like I was something warm she wanted to hold on to. On the back of the photo, in blue pen, one line. You were right not to fight. That was it. No signature. Just that. And for a second, one beat, I felt something. Not regret. Not nostalgia. Just this cold, clinical realization. She finally understood. Not that she lost me. Not that she hurt me. But that I walked away not because I was angry. Because I was finished. The kind of finish that doesn't look back. The kind that doesn't chase or reread old texts or entertain what-ifs. She thought the worst part would be the party. It wasn't. The worst part, her worst part, was this. Me living well. Quietly. Indifferently. That photo? I kept it. But not on the fridge. I tucked it behind the breaker box in the garage, far out of sight, near wires and dust and rusted nails. That's where her version of me belongs. Not framed. Not cherished. Filed. Then forgotten. People sometimes ask me what I learned. What I tell someone else who sees the seat in her car pushed too far back, who finds a dashcam file they didn't know they'd need. I tell them this. You don't have to explode. You don't have to scream. You don't have to beg for truth from people who've already decided to lie. You just have to see it and act like you do. Let them dig the hole. Then hand them the shovel and walk away. My revenge wasn't the party. It wasn't the mic drop or the public shame or the legal paperwork in an envelope she didn't want to open. It was this. That she doesn't get to rewrite it. No healing arcs. No second chances. No closure dates on the calendar. She cheated with the guy who helped me propose. So I proposed something else. You both can go to hell. And then I made a life without her. And that life? It doesn't have a seat for her anymore. Not even in the back. Subscribe to the channel